Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dear Diary. So, you know how sometimes you look back at an old situation and that situation makes you physically cringe. You cringe like you look back, you think back to that situation and then you were like, ew, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine. I literally cannot imagine why I was even associated with that kind of person. It's just a weird feeling. It feels very cringe. Like your whole body just says, ew. Not because something bad happened, but because you cannot believe you were in that space. You cannot believe that you were associated with that kind of persons. So that's what we are talking about today. And we are going to dive into the psychological aspects of this later in this episode. So, story time. Okay, so back in grade 9, the last year of middle school, in my country, it works that way. There was this boy. He was my neighbor and my classmate. And we had these moments that at the time felt like something out of a teen romance movie. Like, what do you mean? We wrote handwritten letters to each other. We rode home together on our bikes. It was pretty romantic, but now when I think about it, I'm not getting butterflies. I'm getting secondhand embarrassment from my own memories. Literally, right now I'm cringing so bad just thinking back about that story. I'm cringing. I feel cringe. I remember chasing after him, but he was always late. I told him once, come to the first floor at 8 a.m. I'll give you the cupcake that I baked yesterday. And guess when did he came? He came at 8:30, 30 minutes late. And I still handed him my cake. I still tolerate those shitty behavior. And like, oh my gosh, thinking back, all the things I tolerated is so fucking stupid. Now, if someone disrespect me like that, it would be a hard stop. I would not tolerate such shits anymore. Oh, that's kind of the story that I went through. I was in a phase, it kind of like a situationship, but I was pretty like young. So it's the first thing that is cringe. It's because I was young and I got like associated with a boy. Well, I thought that was romantic, and he was so full of himself, conceited, and he was sweet to me, though. And we wrote handwritten letters, we wrote home together, we talked. Oh, and looking back, that was so cringe. It was honestly so cringe. And here's why this happens. Back then, we were in the same bubble, same school, same social circle, same mindset. In that environment, you don't have much contrast. If everyone treats time casually, you barely notice. It's a problem. Your brain normalizes it because that's the frequency you are living in, the shared vibe of the group. When we talk about frequency, it's basically your baseline energy and standards. I already talked about frequency in one of my episodes. It's how you think, how you treat people, and what you accept in return. If you are in a low clarity frequency, things that aren't actually okay can feel fine because they match the environment. They I studied at a productivity class, and they say environment matters. If you are lazy and you are living in a lazy environment, then you will never get better. But if you're lazy, you don't want to exercise, but you live in an environment where your friends are all health experts and doctors and athletes, then you will exercise, you will become fit like them. So, if you are in a low clarity frequency, things aren't actually okay, it can feel fine because they match the environment. Again, so that was ninth grade. Fast forward, I got into an elite high school for gifted students, a place I worked my ass off to enter. Suddenly, when I got into my new environment, my everything flipped. So, in back at my back at my old environment, you kind of have to put in effort, and you sort of don't have anything to expect there. For example, in my old environment, if the girls and the boys are in an elevator and the elevator door opens, then the boys would get out first and the girl would get out after the boys holding the phones in their hand. But in my new environment, it's just different. Here, I remember having a conversation with a friend, a girl I met at my new school. I said, I think friendship should be mutual support. You should support your friends always 100% if they don't do anything harmful for themselves, for others, and for the environment. Then you should support them 1,000%, and you should expect that friend to support you. And she nodded. She said, "Yeah, that's the bare minimum, right?" Here, doing vlogs isn't cringe. It's cool, it's outgoing, it's fun. But in the old environment, doing vlogs, it's considered cringe. It's considered, I don't know, trying to be an influencer. It just shits. Here at the new environment, I've met entrepreneurs, founders, singers, people who treat respect and effort as second nature. I still remember walking with a mentor, a very successful entrepreneur. And I was 15 at the time, and we were talking about my trip to Zanzibar. And he held the door for me and for the woman after me. Not a big deal, right? He's my mentor. He held the door for me. I'm his student. But the point is, in my new environment, basic respect is normal. For example, my dad. When me and my dad, or my dad and my mom, or my dad with any woman, in the elevator. If he knows her, if my dad knows that woman or that girl, and if the elevator door opens, then my dad is not gonna get out. It's not gonna be the first person to get out. He's gonna wait for all the women, all the females to get out first, and then he'll get out after. That's basic respect. So, when I look back at that old boy now, it's not even personal. It's not that he changed, it's that I did. Our frequencies are so different now that we are not even in the same reality anymore. And here is the psychology of why you get the ick after you level. First is contrast effect. Once you experience higher standards, the old ones don't just feel less. The old ones feels wrong. That's the contrast effect. And second, it's the self-concept shift. Your identity changes, and anything that doesn't align with the new identity feels unnatural. Yes, that's just the way it is. Third is emotional detachment. This is a very important thing that I'm currently learning about. You're no longer emotionally invested. So, you can see the situation objectively, and sometimes that objectivity makes you cringe. For example, your two best friends are in a relationship and they think that that relationship is all sweet and stuff. But you, as a third person, think what they are doing is so wrong and so cringe. But they don't know it because they are not seeing the situation objectively. But you are. So it's kind of the same thing, when you're no longer emotionally invested, you see the situation objectively. The point here is it's not to hate on your past self. It's to recognize that every time you feel that it's a sign that you have outgrown that old frequency. Old you might waited 30 minutes with the cake in hand, like me. New you would take the cake home, make a cup of tea, and enjoy it with friends who show up. So, if you are in a season where the people or situations around you suddenly feel off, maybe it's not what they have changed. Maybe because it's you. It could be for the worse or for the better. Maybe you have quietly raised your frequency, and you just haven't realized yet that it's time to leave the bubble. Alright, that's today's diary entry. Remember, you are not losing people. You are just turning into a different channel, and that's how the growth works. This episode is not going to be a long one because it's mostly about I want to share my story to illustrate about how frequency works and how it is and how it shows and how you can see it in your life. And this is real life situation. So that's the end of today's episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.